Get your hands up. Get your hands up. Put your hands right behind your head. Interlock your fingers. Move. Do it now. Do it now. Here, 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 here.
Hello, my name is Leonard Holifield, Chief Instructor of Military Combatives. Along with my assistant instructor, Mr. James E. Turner, we hope to present to you some of the most effective close-quarter combat techniques and training techniques available. Keep in mind, the techniques presented in this series are deadly, they are lethal, and they are to be executed using extreme care and caution. Remember, train to fight, fight to win. As the primary close-quarter combat instructor for your unit, it is your responsibility to ensure that you have well-trained assistant instructors to help assist you in conducting your close-quarter combat training program. Now, one way that you can do this, or one way that you can identify potential assistant instructors to help you, is by identifying those individuals in your unit who may possess some martial arts knowledge or background, okay? These particular individuals have a better understanding of the basics and tend to make better assistant instructors in the long run. Discipline is the key to success in any training exercise or training mission. Therefore, when conducting your close-quarter combat training session, you should enforce discipline at all times to ensure that your training program runs smoothly and that you're keeping all of your soldiers on the same sheet of music. When conducting your close-quarter combat training session, it is important, as the primary instructor, that you reinforce the details of each technique. Now, this can be well accomplished by using two methods of instruction. One, the step-by-step, and two, by the numbers approach to instruction. This alone will ensure that your soldiers understand everything that's going on within the techniques. They understand the mechanics of each technique, and this will eliminate a lot of confusion amongst the soldiers as to what exactly is being taught. Stressing cooperation in any training program is important. Close-quarter combat training is no different. Therefore, throughout the training program, you should stress cooperation from the soldiers, minimize horseplay, keep horseplay completely out of the training session, and at the same time promote an aggressive spirit. You must streamline your training without compromising content, efficiency, and most important, safety. Ensure that all of your training aids that you are using is serviceable and in good condition. Now, most of your training equipment can be obtained through the Post-Task C, your Training and Support Center. Make sure that the unit that you are training has enough equipment to accommodate that unit and that all equipment is properly serviceable. As the primary close-quarter combat instructor for your unit, your main and foremost responsibility will be safety. You must ensure at all times that you are monitoring the soldiers for safety, that your assistant instructors are monitoring for safety and minimizing horseplay. You should also ensure that you have adequate medical personnel on hand in the event that there are any minor injuries sustained during the training session. Before conducting your close quarter combat training session, you'll notice that the majority of your soldiers, if not all of them, will already be motivated. And this is because, by the sheer nature of close quarter combat training, it offers variety, diversity. It offers a difference in training than what the soldiers are used to. Okay? So because of this, your soldiers will already be motivated. Your responsibility as that primary instructor will be to keep those soldiers motivated. Before conducting your close quarter combat training session, you must conduct an area training survey or training area survey. What this is going to entail is that you must take a look at the training site approximately 2 days before the actual training takes place. Now, what you're going to be looking for are holes, rocks, ditches, uneven ground, anything on that training site that may cause injury to the soldiers being trained. Some of the equipment that you may need when conducting your close quarter combat training session is basic equipment that can usually be obtained from your post-TASC, Training and Support Center. Now, some of the pieces of equipment, such as the pugil stick gear, will consist of a helmet. Now, you must make sure that that helmet is in serviceable condition, that there are no cracks or breaks in the helmet. Make sure that the inside of the helmet has sufficient padding on the inside. You also must make sure that the helmet has a serviceable chin strap on the helmet. Now, you'll find that some helmets come with the protective shield. The newer helmets that are out right now will come with the protective full face shield. Okay, some of the other good pugil stick helmets will have the cage going along the front. Whichever will suffice and protect the soldier's face from being injured. Okay, one of the next pieces of equipment is the chest protector. You want to make sure that you've got a good chest protector. I'll go on and fold it all the way down. The chest protector will also offer groin protection. Make sure when observing the chest protector that your straps are serviceable, that there are no tears, there are no rips, there are no broken buttons or snaps, and that the chest protector fits properly. Okay, another very important piece of equipment will be the groin protection or the apron. The apron unfolds. It usually is held together by Velcro snaps. You can turn it to the rear. The Velcro straps which hold it together. It's very easy to put on and take off, and basically this affords good protection to the groin area. The gloves. Must make sure that your hands are properly protected. This can be done by obtaining the proper gloves for pugil stick use. However, I do not recommend that you use the regular leather gloves. These gloves are specially designed for pugil stick training. Also make sure that they are serviceable and that they have the tie strings on the bottom of the glove for proper securement. Okay. The pugil stick. Okay, the main weapon in pugil stick training. Make sure that your pugil stick is serviceable. Make sure that the pads on each end do not have rips and tears. Make sure that the pads are securely fixed onto the staff itself. Make sure that it's sturdy and strong. Okay. Moving on down to the M16 rifle. Now, this is an exact replica of the real M16A1. These can be obtained, again, from your Training and Support Center. It is made out of a solid, durable rubber. It is to the exact weight and specifications of an M16A1. This will afford very good realistic training in rifle and bayonet training. Again, these can be obtained through your TASC. Okay, there's two pieces of equipment that you may not be able to find at your TASC, and that is the training 9mm and the training knife. Now, what I recommend, whenever you're conducting training using the 9mm, you may have to purchase this yourself. The 9mm and the training knife should be made out of a rubber or a wood type of material. Okay? These, again, the gun, the pistol, and the knife can be obtained usually at a Army surplus store or a local martial arts supply store. May also carry those two pieces of equipment. Last but not least, a very important piece of equipment that you will need to have as a primary instructor and is often overlooked, and that is the whistle, the instructor's whistle. This is important when giving out commands. And when you're training large groups or large platoons, battery elements in close quarter combat training, it is important that all the soldiers hear what's going on and that they understand your commands to stop and your commands to go. And this can be accomplished by a simple blow of the whistle. When conducting any close quarter combat training session, safety should be your primary concern. Number one, ensure that you have adequate assistant instructors to assist you. Approximately 1 AI per 20 soldiers is sufficient. Supervise and monitor soldiers at all times, making sure that soldiers do not get ahead of your instruction. Ensure that soldiers remove all objects from their pockets and any jewelry before training, i.e. wallets, dog tags, rings, wedding bands are acceptable, and belts when conducting ground fighting drills. The buckle can cause injury. When training one-on-one, soldiers should have approximately 8 to 10 square feet between each pair of soldiers training, especially when practicing throwing techniques. Teach soldiers proper breakfall techniques before going into throwing techniques. Ensure that soldiers use control when executing simulated strikes to vital point target areas, i.e. head, neck, throat, eyes, groin, etc. Ensure that soldiers train together and offer little resistance when practicing close quarter combat techniques. Use the step-by-step and by-the-numbers method of instruction before execution at combat speed. Ensure that soldiers are properly warmed up before conducting CQC training. Ensure that trained medical personnel is on standby in the event of any injury. Ensure that water is available at the training site, i.e. water buffalo or individual canteen per soldier to prevent dehydration. Ensure that the training equipment is in good serviceable condition for use. Check for wear and tear and any protruding objects that may cause injury. Use rubber or wooden knives when practicing knife fighting drills, and keep bayonets in their scabbards when practicing bayonet fighting drills. Conduct a survey of the training area that you will use for training. Check for holes, ditches, rocks, etc., or anything else that may cause injury to the soldiers being trained. Do not allow horseplay at any time during the training session. This alone will cause unnecessary injury. Give periodic breaks during the training session, especially if training in MOP 4. One of the 5 major mistakes made when teaching a hand-to-hand combat training session is being unprepared. Now, always remember, your first impression is the lasting impression on the soldiers' minds. You are being looked at by your soldiers as the subject matter expert in hand-to-hand combat training as the primary instructor. Anything less can cause you not only to lose the soldiers' respect, but also their attention as well. Therefore, you must be well-versed in your presentation, well-versed in all material that you are putting out, and ready to answer any and all questions that the soldiers may have. One of the second biggest mistakes made when teaching hand-to-hand combat to your soldiers is not being on the same sheet of music with your assistant instructors or not being on the same accord. Now, this is important. When a technique is being taught, it's important that you, as the primary instructor, and your assistant instructors are both teaching the same technique. Now the problem comes in, where the problem comes in is that you may teach the same technique as your assistant instructor, or your assistant instructor will teach the same technique that you're teaching, but you're teaching a different version of that same technique. This can present confusion among the soldiers being trained because they're getting different pieces of information. Therefore, always stay on the same sheet of music and make sure that you ensure that your assistant instructors and yourself, you are all teaching the same technique to those soldiers. The third biggest mistake made when teaching hand-to-hand combat to soldiers is using the traditional martial arts approach or mindset. Now let me explain to you what I'm talking about. Even though military combatives is derived from traditional martial arts, it is not to be taught using the same approach or the same methods. Okay? You must keep in mind that through the years, Hollywood has painted a very exciting and colorful picture of the martial arts. Soldiers, before they come into the training program, they've already have developed preconditioned attitudes about martial arts and about self-defense. When you're teaching military combatives, you must stay in that lane. Keep traditional martial arts in that lane, keep your military combatives in the other lane. Okay, you must stress the fact to your soldiers that you are not teaching combat karate, you are not teaching combat kempo, combat ishinryu, combat kung fu, or what have you. What you are teaching is combat, military combatives, fighting is what you are teaching. Okay? If you use the word karate or any other type of martial art, the soldiers or your soldiers that you are training may not take the training session as seriously as they should because of their preconditioned attitudes. Therefore, as the primary instructor, you need to ensure that you keep military combatives on one side of the house and traditional karate on the other side of the house. On that same point, the techniques that you teach should be straightforward, direct, and to the point. When you're teaching military combatives, a lot of the traditional martial art techniques will have no place in your military combatives training session. Your spinning hooking kicks, your spinning back kicks, your high roundhouse kicks, your spinning back knuckles, all of these tournament type style techniques, if you will, the fancy techniques, the flash type techniques. You don't have time to teach that. The soldiers will not have time to implement those techniques on the battlefield. All of your techniques should be direct to the point. Now, as a martial artist, if you are a martial artist, good. It's a good idea to implement some of your techniques into the training session. That will help to enhance the training session. However, make sure that the techniques that you do implement are techniques that are precise, direct, and to the point. That will get the job accomplished. Another one of the major mistakes made when teaching your combatives training session is not keeping the soldiers motivated. Now, by the sheer nature of hand-to-hand combat training, again, like I stated, the sheer nature of that training will foster automatic motivation from the soldiers. However, it is your responsibility to keep your soldiers motivated at all times. The fifth and final biggest mistake made when teaching hand-to-hand combat training is horseplay. At no time during the training session, as the primary instructor, should you allow horseplay of any kind. Your assistant instructors should be aware to this fact, and they should monitor soldiers closely for any type of horseplay. You should make it clear at the beginning of your training session that horseplay of any kind will result in immediate dismissal from the training session. Before conducting your close quarter combat training program, a good, solid physical fitness program should be ready to warm the soldiers up for CQC training. Soldiers should be in reasonably good physical condition prior to starting this program. You should also make note and identify those soldiers who may have profiles and adjust their training accordingly. The first thing that you want to do is joint preparation. This is important in close quarter combat training because, again, you tend to get into joint manipulation and put pressure on the joints. Start first with neck rotations, hands to the side and rotating the neck in full circles, loosening the neck, reverse direction, and back. Also go with shoulder rotations to the front, loosening up the shoulders, and shoulder rotations to the rear for good shoulder preparation. Next, hip rotations. Concentrate on full circular rotations of the hip area all the way around, getting the hips loose, and again, reverse the hip direction. Knee rotations. This is important. Hands on the knees, bend slightly, and rotate the knees in full circles, reverse the direction, and follow through with the knee rotations. Ankle rotations. By taking the foot, placing it behind you on the toe of the foot, and rotating the ankle all the way around and changing over, rotating and reversing ankle rotation. Loosen up the ankle joints. Wrist rotations. Take one hand and start rotating at the wrist, clockwise and counterclockwise. Make sure you switch off and stretch out. Good stretch on the wrist, and again, rotate one direction and reverse. Stretching. The neck stretch. The neck stretch can be accomplished by turning the neck to the full left and stretching the neck full left and coming back over to the opposite direction with a full stretch to the right. Tilting the head all the way back for a full neck stretch and attempting to touch the chin to upper chest to stretch the back of the neck. You may also go side to side with the ear to shoulder method and opposite direction to get a good side stretch on the neck. Chest stretch. By placing both hands straight out in front of you and arching back, bringing both arms way out to your sides and stretching the pectoral muscles and coming back into a starting position for chest stretch. One arm side stretch. Legs spread and stretching all the way to your side, stretching the side of the body and coming back center and back to the opposite direction. Back roll stretch. This stretch is used to stretch the lower back all the way over, attempt to touch the rear with your toes, and come down slowly. Now, this is a stretching technique that is done very slowly. Again, identify those soldiers that may have lower back problems before going into this stretch. Okay, let's take the stretch again. Rolls all the way back slowly, attempts to touch the ground with his toes, and comes back up into the seated position. Leg spreader stretch. Spreading the legs wide, stretching straight out in front of you, getting a good stretch and going from the left knee and over to the right. Now, there is something to keep in mind. When demonstrating the leg spreader stretch, do not initially bounce, as this is ballistic stretching. If the muscles are not completely warmed up, soldiers may suffer injuries. After the muscles are fairly warmed, then bouncing, slight bouncing is permitted. Okay? Hamstring stretch. This can be accomplished by taking one leg, putting it directly behind you and stretching forward, attempting to touch your head to your knee, getting a good stretch. Okay? The groin stretch. Placing both feet together at the bottom, grabbing at the top of the feet, depressing the inside of the knees, stretching outward and leaning forward. Stretching the groin muscles. And relax. Okay. Long sit stretch, the seated long sit. From the seated position, you may place your hands underneath your thighs or your knees and lean forward. Again, do not bounce, but lean forward as far as you can and come back up. This may be accomplished at various levels where you may move your hands underneath the calves, underneath the ankles, and grabbing the toes. Elongation stretch. This stretch is accomplished by laying flat on your back and stretching your arms directly out, pointing your fingertips and your toes for a good full body stretch and recovering. Okay. Upper body strengthening. This can be accomplished by a variety of push-ups. The first push-up, the regular push-up. Getting into regular push-up position, arms about shoulder distance apart, feet back. Your feet may be spread or together, and going into one push-up, down and back up, down and up. The next push-up is the diamond push-up, where hands are placed squarely together, and this is working on the middle part of the chest, down and up, down, up. The next push-up is the wide arm push-up. You can accomplish this by spreading the arms wide, keeping the back straight, working the outer pec muscles, down and up, down and up. The next push-up is the dip push-up. This is accomplished by placing the hands about shoulder distance apart and sticking your rear up into the air, and what you're going to do is dip in a forward dipping motion up, all the way up, and reversing the dip and coming back up. Again, dipping down and coming up. A very effective exercise for building up the shoulder muscles. Okay? Midsection, abdominal. You go into sit-up position. Lay flat on your back into the sit-up position, hands behind your head. And regular sit-ups, up and down. Okay, coming up. Make sure that you come all the way up and touch your elbows to your knees, hands interlocked behind your head and down. The next series of sit-ups will be the twisting sit-ups. As you come up, twist your body, attempting to touch your right elbow to your left knee and down. And as you come up, you go to the opposite side and attempt to touch your left elbow to your right knee and down. The next sit-up will be the abdominal crunches. You will bring your body up slightly, just fairly off the upper back of the body, upper part of your back off of the ground and down. Comes up and back down. He crunches up and down, crunches up and down, putting pressure and stress on the lower abdominal muscles. Okay? Before conducting your close quarter combat training program, all of your entire course content should be placed in proper sequence. Now, your training program may be broken into 3 phases. Phase 1 should give a brief history of close quarter combat. You should then next go into an introduction of your course content, basically what you're going to be covering in your course. The next thing you want to go into is an introduction of your instructors. If you have several assistant instructors, you want to make sure that they're introduced. Next, you're going to give, most importantly, the general safety briefing to the soldiers. And basically, this is where you will discuss with the soldiers and put out important safety information to the soldiers being trained, again, to prevent any unnecessary injuries. After your safety briefing, you want to go directly into your warm-up and your physical fitness training session. After your physical fitness training session, you want to go directly into your basic stances, covering your basic stances and your basic stance drills. Next, you move right into your basic blocks. And after your basic blocks, you may move right along into basic strikes and your basic kicks. And then finish phase one up with ground fighting tactics. Now this is important. Soldiers will be motivated. You must keep their motivation. The ground fighting tactics offers, kind of puts the icing on the cake. Have your soldiers, a good example would be to have all of your soldiers pair off in a group, have them sit around on the ground back to back, approximately 8 to 10 square feet around them, and just have them go through wrestling drills. Natural wrestling drills. The only thing that you're looking at here is their motivation and if who can grab the advantage over the other. Okay, this is a very highly aggressive training session, builds a lot of motivation, a lot of esprit de corps, and this will enhance phase one and prep the soldiers before they go into phase two. Phase two of your training should consist of introduction to break falls, followed by your introduction to your basic throwing techniques. That, in turn, should be followed by an introduction to the vital points of the body, followed by combat psychology, or development of the proper mindset. Next, followed by basic choke and strangulation techniques, going from there into your close quarter combat fighting tactics, and tie everything up at the end with the use of TA-50 as expedient weapons. Phase three of your CQC training program should consist of the following: your basic knife fighting drills, followed by knife fighting techniques. Go directly into your introduction to rifle bayonet training, directly from there into sentry neutralization tactics, into your prisoner search and securement, into close quarter combat ethics, a quick course review, and then finish it up with a course critique. My martial arts training, or my interest in the martial arts, began back in 1967 at the age of 7. I think what really sparked my attention to the arts were the traditional movies that were out at that time, and especially the Bruce Lee era. I think at a young age like that, a lot of the young kids around that time were very excited about Bruce Lee, such as myself. And that's what really sparked my interest in getting involved in the arts. The program that I developed for the military basically covers the basic fundamentals of hand-to-hand combat. I found that there had been a great need for this training to revitalize it, to spark some more interest and bring it back into the mainstream of military training. The program basically covers the basic fundamentals of close quarter combat, the basic history, and it upgrades all techniques concerning hand-to-hand combat training in defending against enemy personnel in time of war. Hand-to-hand combat training benefits the soldiers in many ways. Number one, it builds up their confidence. They get a greater sense of self-confidence, self-discipline, which is extremely important. Another thing it does, it enhances their level of physical fitness, while at the same time increasing their level of combat skills. This is important. So what you have is a soldier that is not only in good physical condition, but he's also training to survive on the battlefield. Many personnel can benefit from training in close quarter combat tactics, such as law enforcement, National Guard units, of course, the armed forces, martial arts, martial artists of any and every system. Close quarter combat tactics are basically techniques that are straightforward, to the point, no-nonsense type techniques, highly effective under battlefield conditions and especially in street combat situations also. Okay, actually, there's a big difference between the two. Military combatives training is geared strictly toward straightforward, to-the-point techniques that are geared to take enemy personnel out of the fight immediately. These techniques are geared strictly toward the vital points of the body and directed properly will take the enemy out. Now, in traditional martial arts training, as compared to military combatives, traditional martial arts training, of course, you have your kata forms, of course, you have your tournament fighting type techniques, a variety of exotic weaponry. A lot of the traditional techniques that are taught in traditional martial arts would not apply to military combatives, especially the high kicking type techniques, your spinning kicks, your flashy type spinning techniques. These techniques have no place in military combatives. Again, on the battlefield, when you're talking about a soldier engaging with the enemy, the soldier will not have time to launch high kicks to the head. Another thing, the spinning techniques and the jumping techniques, when you consider the equipment that the soldier is wearing, a lot of weight, we're talking flak vests, Kevlar helmet, web gear, boots, a lot of extra added weight. Again, that's going to restrict mobility. So there is a big difference. I think we definitely have to separate the two. The techniques primarily, the major techniques that hand-to-hand combat is known for the straight, direct techniques directed at vital points of the body. Again, these techniques, you're shooting off the line of attack, and you're going to points on the body that are designed to take the enemy out in the quickest, most effective way possible. A lot of the techniques in hand-to-hand combat are kill techniques, as they are called. Again, a kill technique is basically what it is, a technique that is designed to kill the attacker immediately or take him out of the fight immediately. A lot of times you're not taking any prisoners. It's a life or death situation on the battlefield. It's extremely serious, and you must handle the attack in that manner. When you're dealing with street self-defense and you're dealing with battlefield self-defense in a sense, again, there's kind of a fine line there also because of the legalities that are involved in street self-defense. But however, against a violent attack, excuse me, in the street, again, these are techniques that are straightforward, to the point. They're streamlined to meet the attack. A violent attack, again, you're going for vital points of the body, pressure points, points of the body that can cripple, immobile, incapacitate the attacker. Again, the same logic applies to the battlefield principles on taking the enemy personnel out. But there may be a fine line there. When the soldier first comes into the hand-to-hand combat arena, the soldier basically must understand the meaning of hand-to-hand combat, a basic history of hand-to-hand combat, and then it is very, very important that the soldier be given a strong foundation of the training principles of close-quarter combat. We're talking a basic foundation in stances, the basic blocks, your basic strikes, your basic kicks, your basic defenses, your basic break falls. The soldier must build upon a strong foundation. That is primarily number one before he can move on to more advanced techniques. In other words, you must crawl before you can walk. You must walk before you can run. Absolutely, I believe that the armed forces as a whole should place more emphasis on hand-to-hand combat, especially with the current downsizing of our force. And I think as we continue to downsize the force, we're going to place more emphasis on quality training and technology in the force. So as we do this, I think it's important that we not only place emphasis on high technology and high technology weaponry, but we should also place more emphasis on the physical skills and the combat skills of close-quarter combat training in an effort to give our soldiers the proper ammunition to meet the enemy at close quarters if need be. I believe that there has been a growing interest in military combatives. Through my own personal research, I found that throughout the military there are leaders, trainers, educators throughout the armed forces and throughout the civilian populace also that are very much interested in close quarter combat training, and I believe that's because of the real world application of hand-to-hand combat. There's no frivolity to it, there's no flash about it. These are techniques that are geared again to finish the fight confrontation quickly and effectively, and I think that's what a lot of people are looking for nowadays. They're looking for something effective, something that's going to work when they need it. I think what makes a good instructor is the ability to disseminate information out to the soldiers in such a way that those soldiers understand you completely. I think that a good instructor should have a good, strong presence about himself. I think you should have a good vocal presentation. And I believe that probably the most important thing that makes an instructor good is his love for what he's teaching. You got to love what you do, and that doesn't matter on what you're teaching. If you're a combatives instructor, you must love what you're doing, because soldiers, they can tell whether or not you love what you do. They can tell if you're serious about what you're teaching. They can also tell if you're phony. And if you really love what you do, you're going to put it out there in such a way that there's no question about it, and I think that that's what helps make a good instructor. My personal goals as a combatives instructor with the military is to basically train and produce highly skilled combatives instructors capable of going out to other units and taking this training not only to the soldiers but to other trainers as well. These other trainers can then continue the training process in an effort to maintain a training sustainment program. Basically, by doing this, we minimize the possibility of skill decay, therefore maintaining a high level of combat readiness to meet future threats. Yes, I'm available for training seminars, for training sessions. I'm available through contacting Panther Productions. I think the training seminars and training sessions and programs that I offer will offer you a very deep insight into real-world close-quarter combat training. It will offer you real-world techniques that are time-proven, that are combat-proven to work should you have to use them. I hope that this new video series that I've filmed with Panther will help to enlighten not only members of the armed forces, but also of the law enforcement, civilian law enforcement personnel, and martial artists of all systems and styles to the importance of close-quarter combat training and the benefits that you can reap from training in real-world combat fighting. Basically, you only get out of something that you put into it. Train to fight, fight to win, and always remember that the destination is not as important as is the process of getting there.